is not rated. It contains violence, adult language, and adult content. Viewer discretion advised.
On March 3, 1991, George Holliday heard a disturbance outside his Los Angeles apartment and went to investigate, his home video camera in hand. What he taped was the police beating of a suspect named Rodney King, an African-American. This videotape led to charges of excessive force against the officers. The 4 men, all of them Caucasian, were acquitted 1 year later. Immediately, Los Angeles erupted into riots on a scale unprecedented in American history.
I was so stunned. I was just stunned. I couldn't believe that with each reading of each count, that each one was not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. And I can remember just taking this huge gasp.
I don't think they can claim to be innocent, to escape from punishment. No, I don't believe that.
But how about Rodney King? You know, he's guilty too.
I believe every society is racist because everyone fears each other. Fear is the ultimate controlling factor in anyone's life.
All I'm doing is doing a lot of heavy praying and hoping that what's right will happen.
I think it's sad that everything boils down to one case of a black man being beaten by the police, which were white, becomes so significant, so important, that it just freezes a city. And it kind of lets you know that there is a problem for everybody to watch this to see the outcome.
In April of 1993, the nation awaits the verdict in a second Rodney King trial. The same officers facing federal charges that they violated King's civil rights. Thousands of troops are amassed outside the city, and while the jury deliberates, 5 Los Angeles families reflect on the events of the past 2 years. Woon Ko, a native of Korea, met his wife young soon after his arrival in America. They live with their 2 children in Northridge.
When I saw the video on TV for the first time, I couldn't believe myself. As I conceived of this country. This is not just a land of opportunities, but this is a land of justice. People always talk about justice and peace. No, there cannot be anything like peace as long as there is police brutality openly executed like that. No. It was really shocking, and I was wondering if I were actually in America or somewhere else. Yeah.
It looked like some kind of like, it looked like a gang beating or something, like a gang was like beating some, you know, it didn't look like police officers, really like, didn't look like it at all. It just seemed like when someone was on the ground, they were just like totally beating someone. I don't know, can't believe it.
The day I saw that videotape first, I couldn't eat, and at night I couldn't sleep. And I cried, actually. I don't know what he did wrong before, but only that, tape. And I was so mad.
I feel sorry for the officers, but this is the United States, and I don't think they should be getting away with what they did. I mean, just by the videotape itself, was it 85 hits, was it? Or 84 blows or whatever. That was uncalled for, and I feel sorry for the officers, but I think they're guilty.
George and Mordell Tooks met in Los Angeles and married in 1960, just prior to George's Navy service in Vietnam. They have raised their daughter in South Central, near the flashpoint of the '92 riots.
After 32 days of testimony from more than 60 witnesses, the jury at 3:05 p.m. today retired to deliberate over the fate of the 4 Los Angeles police officers. The city, the nation, and all of us here outside of the courthouse now sit braced for a decision. Brian Jenkins, 13 Real News.
Come here, Q-Tip. Come here. What happened to your fur? What you did?
Stay outside.
It shows. What's up, doggy?
Well, he always wants you to rub his stomach.
I know.
We're going to name him Snowy.
Snowy? Dog, you're going to be so confused. You had about 3 names, huh? Anything was better than that Rambo. Oh, who named him? Come on, I'm not rubbing. Get up.
I felt very angry. I could wish I could have been there to stop it. I thought it was unjust. They had got away with almost murder, and they should have been punished.
When the verdict came down, I was in the kitchen talking to a couple of friends and watching TV. They were here, and I told both of them, they're very good friends of mine, I said, you better go home. Go home now, get out of the streets. I said, because it's not over. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I don't know, it's just not over. Just get out of the streets.
In the mall, when I saw this group of people standing around watching the television, and they were getting very angry, and in our mall, we're probably the only mall in the United States that have a full-fledged police department in the mall, right? And they're standing there telling these police, yeah, we're going to get you, you blah, blah, this, and they're using real strong language towards them, and they're getting real physical with the people, and I'm going, you know what, Lynette, you should head home. And as I start heading home, you can see people milling about in the street, and you can see anger and tears. I started to cry because I don't think people should have to get that upset over anything.
Cheryl Werbel met her husband David in Los Angeles following his tour of duty in Vietnam. Disillusioned by the war, he chose to settle in California and begin a new life. They were married in 1975.
What upsets me is, we as police officers are put in situations where they give us a taser, they give us a baton, and they tell us to go out there and use the baton and use the taser, and now what you see is indictments. You get indictments.
John, I am sure that in your mind, over and over again.
Cheryl and David have raised their 2 daughters in Van Nuys.
My daughter, Lindsay, is 10, and she, I think she's a lot like me, somewhat reserved and quiet. And Devin, who is 14, I think is a great deal like her dad. David is very friendly and gregarious, and Devin tends to be that way as well.
If I think back, it just might have been a news story. And the first time I saw it, and I said, they're killing the guy. My first reaction. You know, I mean, it scared me. It scared me to the point of, you know, why he was lying down and they kept on hitting him. And even if when he moved, they'd hit him. And to me, it was like, handcuff the guy and put him in the car. That was my, you know, my brain thought. You know, and then I heard later on, to add to that question about the tape, that they used a taser gun on him. And a taser gun, I understand, attaches to the body and it has a wire to it, and it really kind of shocks the system and makes you kind of fall down convulsed. My thought would be if a taser gun hit one of us or anybody, that would be enough to subdue somebody, especially with his 4 policemen on a guy, that you would need baton. So the videotape really shook me up.
Oh, no.
But I think the examples that we're here talking about things in regards to Rodney King, I think the examples last year in the riots were a lot of opportunists. It wasn't the verdict that got them mad. It was an opportunity to go out there and do something wrong.
Can you? Yeah, we're trying the best we can. We also, the PD helicopter just left here. The pilot's reporting a situation. We'll cover this, and he departed northbound. I think he's going to try to land someplace, but I don't know whether he was hit with something or not. But boy, I tell you, it's really a nasty, nasty situation. Yeah, and there's absolutely no police presence down here at all at this time.
I was here by myself with just one of my daughters. David was out of town, and now that I think back, another one of my other daughter was in Sacramento on a field trip, and it was just Devin and I that night here in the house. And I remember we bundled up together, we slept together that night. I can remember smelling the fires coming, you know, the smell coming over the hill. I finally, at about 8 o'clock, I turned the TV off. I couldn't watch it anymore.
Consuelo Perez met her husband Fausto 2 years after she first came to Los Angeles on a vacation. Both of them grew up in Mexico and were married here in 1978. They lived in Santa Monica with Consuelo's brother and their 4 young children.
My mother passed away when I was 1 year and a half. She was 19. And so I went to live with my grandmother. She was like my sister, you know, because I grew up with her. When I came here, I told my grandmother that I want to get married and I want she comes with me. And she says, okay. So when I came to live here is when I met my husband. He was living here. Well, my husband thinks that Rodney King, it was his fault. He was drinking and why he didn't stop when, you know, when they told him to stop it. Why he left, you know, he ran. But the police officers, you know, they don't supposed to hit him very, very much, you know.
If you go to another country, like example like Mexico, sometimes you don't even have a trial. You just, even if you're innocent, they say you're guilty, and that's it.
When the riots, I was working, you know, and I worked until 5 o'clock. When I saw the TV, you know, I was very mad
because I say, oh, it's too bad because the American people think the Latinos are very poor and always they do the problems over here, and now you can see they're going to think that it's right.
And they're always with their lights in our backyard. They gotta fix that rotor one of these days. That's been sitting there for 3 weeks. This is their social hour. You see, he usually gets other doggies to say hello to, and she gets people because she flirts terribly.
Baba and Lenny Bleacher are former New Yorkers who moved to Los Angeles with their son in 1989, seeking opportunities in the arts. The family resides in Hollywood, but the crises of the last few years have left them uncertain about staying.
The first time I saw the beating, I was shocked by it, but I think after we saw the Vietnam War, when you see things on television, they don't register.
Even after having been exposed to it perhaps 1,000 times since that day, I didn't need to ever see it again to remember or to be reminded of the viciousness of it.
I had just gotten off work when I had first heard the verdict. I was working in the cab company then. I was at the Hollywood Pool Hall, the one on Western in Hollywood, and I had just finished playing a game, and I had sat down at the bar, and I looked up at the TV, and there was like Reginald Denny getting beat up by a truck, and like someone rushing and saying, "Do you see this? There's a helicopter flying," and all that. So I figured, since the media started just a little bit, they started showing the first 2 or 3 fires, and I figured, it might be a good thing to go home. So I got home, and my parents and I sat up for a while. My mom went to bed after a while. My dad and I stayed up like almost 2 days straight, like looking at the riots and everything happening, and my dad and I made a pact that if anyone came in here, we'd have to dismember them, keep our house safe.
I remember the second day we had a chance to get a carpet up on Mulholland Drive, and it was the only chance to go get it. We drove over there, and it's when we got up on Mulholland Drive, then all of a sudden, all the things I'd been seeing on television was real. There were all these fires and this great cloud of black sitting over the city. And when we were coming back, we couldn't get on to Franklin, and we went down Hollywood. I said, my God, I've never seen Hollywood so empty. We get home, and then we see on the television 4 buildings we had gone by 5-6 minutes before were in flames.
Negative. We have to find a heliport to sit down on. Can you hear me? Control, can you hear me? Ride the chopper.
Can't find that there was excessive force or it could have been done better and therefore they're guilty. They've got to go all the way and say it was wrong, the officers knew it was wrong, and they intended to do it anyway for the purpose of violating Rodney King's civil rights.
We love LA. Keep it good in the hood. We want peace in the hood.
I work with kids, and I'm with kids every day, well, 5 days a week. And some of these kids, the only time they actually get to be themselves is when they come to the school to be able to enjoy your childhood. Nowadays, I think the kids are so deprived from that. So many pressures, not only from peers, but from the environment itself, the surroundings.
I was a child care worker for the Los Angeles Child I used to say, and he worked there. That's how we met.
He really stole my heart. I didn't think that nobody could do that again. I was like a Mike Tyson. I was not going to let my guards down and get knocked out again. But she found the key, and I've been happy ever since.
Yeah, when we first met, he was nice, and I also thought that he was going to be okay. We started off being real good friends, and talking hours and hours and hours on end. And what all told, with the years of dating and years of marriage, well, we've been together 5 years, huh? 3 years dating and 2 years married.
The changes that I've seen is quite a bit. It's changed in many ways. In my little neighborhood here, it happened, but around me, a lot of changes. Kids growing up, most of the kids, some dead, some in jail, and some still around.
Pues nosotros somos el ejemplo en la casa, primeramente. Y si damos el mal ejemplo o no nos importa lo que ellos hacen afuera, le estamos dando vía libre, lo que ellos quieran hacer. Y
I'm 28. I did the right thing. I went to college and everything. You know, you halfway get out and I'm going, this isn't going to work. Go back to school for something else. But the point being, at 28, you start looking like, where's my piece of the pie? There's no pie for you. They took it all. There's no pie, there's no pie pan, there's no crumbs, there's nothing. Somewhere on the line, there's a lost generation out there, and the ones coming up under me, that little 7-year gap, they really need it. They ain't afraid of nothing. They're not afraid of dying, they're not afraid of the police. They scare me more than anybody else I've ever seen in a long time. They really do.
I was the guardian angel over a year ago, for almost a year. Got shot at 3 times and a knife pulled on twice on our patrols. I made the rank of corporal and I quit because I figured though life is finite, it was a little bit too finite for me at that point. You know, I was close to death, you know, every now and then, and I got enough of the adrenaline rush.
I've seen the proliferation of handguns. I've seen the increased amount of drug crimes related. I never heard about gangs in Los Angeles until the last 10 years. And I think all of this is happening for reasons that we don't really have our finger on the pulse right now. They have happened because there has been a breakdown maybe of some family situations where there's no cohesiveness. There's no father and mother there raising the children to bring them and teach them properly. And if there's no one controlling the children, they run wild, they become part of a group. That group is now not a group of kids, but they're gangs.
There's nothing for nobody to do over here. That's the problem. They need to. You know, because there's some smart people out there. And what gets me is they talk about the drug dealers and stuff. You have to be somewhat of an educated person. I don't care if it's legal or illegal to run a business. That is a business to them. Give them credit, you know, give them some kind of viable means to channel that energy they have doing something illegal, legal.
They should be down here helping South Central.
Oh, that's like
Now, if this was up in Beverly Hills, it would have been cleaned up. Look at this. You know, they're sending money over there to the hungry in every other country, but look, we got people starving right here in South Central Los Angeles.
I like my culture. I like over here in South Central. I mean, I like over here. You know, people find that weird, but basically it's my community, it's my people, it's my culture. You know, you hang out around here, and it's a black movement going on, and you can get caught up in it real easy. I mean, people are proud to be black. Yeah. And to say that you can beat us and say that because we are black, or you can beat somebody that's not in the norm. That's basically what they do. Anybody that does not fall into the norm, to them is just out of pocket.
Chief Daryl Gates was widely criticized for the inadequate police response to the '92 riots. He later resigned under pressure.
I'm not sure I understand your.
Are they good cops or bad cops?
Well, I'm sad for, and I've said this on my program for a long time. I'm sad about the whole system of justice and what has happened to that system of justice. So
I felt a great sense of outrage against the utter lack of morality and understanding and lack of capability of Daryl Gates. I felt that he was a key proponent in this entire affair because it wasn't just the Rodney King incident. This community was seething, and he was one of the larger reasons for the cauldron bubbling. The man is a racist. This is the man who publicly stated that the chokehold, unfortunately, caused more deaths among blacks because of the particular construction of their throats, that they were different than other human beings.
I've experienced it myself where I've been pulled over and it's like, you need to get out the car and assume the position. Well, please explain to me what position are you talking about?
Like you already know.
What position? You know, do I supposed to assume this position? You know, are we all criminals?
Prosecutor Barry Kowalski told the jury it was the officers who betrayed an oath. He said, let's call it like it is. They were bullies with badges. They were supposed to stop beating a helpless man. They were supposed to respect the Constitution. Kowalski accused Sergeant Stacy Kuhn of inventing the PCP defense when there was no medical evidence that Rodney King was on PCP. All of the officers came under fire for what the prosecutor called an intentional cover-up effort after the beating was publicized. There's no indication any officer would have talked about the beating without the videotape, said Kowalski. It was too late to change their reports, but not too late to change their stories.
He was in charge of everybody. He was big head. He talked him into being sick. So I think he should get the most time. He led them astray. He led them wrong. And the other one, he just went hard wild beating the man. The third little guy, I felt sorry for him because we all been on this job. And we all had somebody to tell you something. Yeah, tell you something wrong. You're under the pressure trying to fit it, and he will do stupid things. But there did come a point when he looked and said, wait a minute, this brother's getting out of hand. And he tried to stop it. So I really don't think he should have been found guilty. But Coon, he was in charge. But I know that's a stressful job, having people shooting you. If you don't have nobody to shoot that in, the job's going to be stressful.
Now, in Mexico, what would the police, what would they have done to him?
Okay. Si él iba corriendo a esa velocidad y ellos decían que se parara, podía pasar dos cosas. O si no se hubiera parado, le hubieran disparado, ¿verdad? Quizás lo hubieran matado. Otra cosa, si él se hubiera parado, pues le hubieran dicho, estás corriendo de muy alta velocidad o te vamos a dar un ticket. Pero primero le iba a decir, si tienes dinero para pagar, te vamos a dejar ir. Entonces, si él hubiera traído dinero, les paga y él se va. Si se para, eso hubiera pasado. Y si no se hubiera parado, entonces le hubieran disparado. Eran dos opciones.
So they would, you think that they might have killed him, just there on the spot, in cold blood?
Maybe 4 months ago, I wished that I had a video camera, because one evening, as we sat here, a big commotion outside, I was in my bathrobe, and Baba was sitting right over there as usual. We ran out onto the little porch, and not 30 feet away, in the middle of the street, a man who looked Mexican was being brutalized by 2 men in plain clothes, while a third man seemed to be supervising.
Then they dragged him over and knocked his head against this tree.
They had him down on the ground, just on the sidewalk, with his head on the curb, and the supervisor rushed over, grabbed the man by the hair, and they were all carrying very big flashlights, long flashlights. The supervisor smashed that flashlight repeatedly into the man's face and head. There was a pool of blood out there that you could almost swim in.
And then